Hi all. So today I would like to show you the REST API example of Spring Boot application. So before that I just give you some overview so how the REST API is working and all. So I just give you the overview of that. So basically the REST API, so whenever we are trying to face the REST API, we should have one API. So from that API we should call from the Spring Boot application and we'll get the data for the particular details of the API. So let's take an example. So as I have already showed to you that example of that Spring Data JP application. So what I have done, I have created the application. It's like an API. So let's say this is an application. So as I have already showed to you in the last class. So if you see here in that controller class, so I have created that request mapping equal to slash API. So why I have done this one? Because whenever you see request mapping, so request mapping is basically to map the request to a controller method. So it has various attribute called HTTP method, URL, request parameter, headers, media type, a lot of things we have. So we are running this application and we are just calling here along with the request mapping slash API. The same thing I have created, there is another application which we should call that particular API itself. So let's me call that one first. So let's start the API. So now both, so now this API, so this API has been started. So let's take an example. Let's go to the H2 console. Let's, so if I start that, so no records are found. Now what I have to do here, so let's take an analysis on the code. So if you see here, there is a couple of things I have added, that is called the REST API call. So you can see like that there is one method called exchange method. So what that method is doing basically, so whenever you are trying to call any API from your Spring Boot application, so one of the most important method is called the exchange method. What that method does? So exchange method basically execute the request of any HTTP method and returns the HTTP entity instance. It can be used for HTTP ports, get, delete, put, whatever the requirement based on that. We can perform the card operation. So I will show you what are the card operation. We will do that one, that is create, retrieve, update and delete. And the exchange method also returns the response entity, which we can get the response from the status, the body, the header. So if you get the enter status, you will get it from the response entity itself. So let's take an example. So here, if you see like that, I have created one method called get employee details, where I am just getting all the employee. So currently we don't have any employee. So before that, what I need to do, I just need to add a couple of employee from the DB itself. So here I have done one thing. I have given the value called add details, and this as the what if I API application is already running 8080 port. So I am running this application 8081. So please keep it in your mind that whenever you are trying to run the port in different port apart from the default one, you should mention like that server.port equal to 8081 in application.properties file or application.yml file. So this is one of the important interview questions. So interviewer might ask this kind of questions. So how to change your port or how to customize your port. So you have to write like that. So we just keep this comment as server.port equal to the port number whatever you require. So let's come back to the controller part. So here if you see, this is the add employee and we are doing adding the employee, and the method is request method dot post. If you see over here, as we are doing the REST API call, so that's why we should pass the header, and header should accept the JSON value. So header can accept any type of value, whether it is JSON, whether it is HTML, whether it is plain text, any type of whatever the value or whatever the type you want to access from the header itself, you can put here media type dot application underscore JSON. And then what we have done, we are just creating the entity. what is the entity? So entity is nothing but basically consists of the entire body, entire request along with the header part. So that two things we are clubbed and we are put it into the entity, http entity class. So in the http entity class, what we have done, we are just putting the entire request body along with the header part. Now what I have done, I am just calling the exchange method. So I have already told you the exchange method basically execute the request of any http method. So that exchange method has several kind of parameter. So here what I have done, I have passing the api url. So whatever the api you need to pass, you need to call from your application, that api url you should pass. So if you want, you can if you want to change that api, instead of passing it directly api url from your code, what you can do, either you can create the constant or otherwise you can use the application dot properties file and you can keep your api name over here. You just write the name from here there itself. So that the properties file itself, or whatever the name you are keeping in the application dot properties file, along with the method name, whatever the method, whatever the operation you want to do. So here, as it is the add details, we want to add the employee to the database. So that's why I am putting html method dot post. After that, I am just putting the entity. So as I have already informed you, the entity is nothing but the combination of request along with the header part. So that part I am putting over here. And string dot class, why? Because my method is returning the string value, that's why I am passing here string dot class. If it is returning the object value, you should pass object dot class. And we are just passing the get body. Let's see how to add that one. So as I have already informed that application is running on 8081 port. And let's see what is the, okay, so add details. So here I am just keeping add details and keeping post. So before add details, what you need to do, as if you like, if you give the like that, and if you run this one, awesome, you will get it. Why? Because if you see the entire application, so whenever it is calling REST template, so because how you call the REST template in your application, first you need to auto add the REST template class over itself, and apart from that you need to create the bean for the particular REST template. Mind it, if you are not creating the bean of the REST template, well, once you are running the application, you will get the exception because the bean can't found in your application. Now I see, you see like that. So here I have added one record. So let's check here, let's take an example on the, awesome, I have already added one more record over here. Let's try to add one or two to three records. It's added, it's added. Now I have three records in my db. So how it will call the REST api, I will explain now. So whenever you are click on this one, add details, first it will come to here. In the request body, we are getting all the requests, whatever the request we are passing, we are getting over here. Now we are setting up the headers, as we are using application hyphen json, so that's why we are passing a json format. And we are keeping those headers into the entity body. We are creating one entity where we are putting all the requests as well as the headers part. Now we are calling the exchange method. In the exchange method, what we have done, we are calling the particular API URL. So as I don't have the ready API like application API, so what I have done, so here this is the API code I have written over here. If you see, so here I have created always API method. So whenever you are trying to call this application into another application, so that method slash API should be present. So after API you should, so whenever I'm giving here, you can see like that, after API we should give slash. So first it will come to here, then it will search in which port it is running. Yes, it is running 8080, and after that API, then slash. Then whenever it is coming to the API part, it is finding where the slash is, it is first finding, as it is the post method, it is finding what are the post mapping are coming over here. So here they can found here one is post mapping, and here and only one post mapping is present. If your controller has several or multiple post mapping, then it will find what are the name of the post mapping we are passing. So we are passing slash after API. If you see like here, after API we are passing slash, and then slash mean, and then after that we are doing all the modification on all the service level class we are having over there itself. That means this tick spring boot application I have created as an API. So I have created the application, I have give all the details, and I have put it in an API, and I am calling this API into another application. Now I have added three records. Now I want to show you how to retrieve the records. So let's check that one. So employee details. So as you see like that, the all the other things are equal. Let's apart from these two. So method should be HTTP method dot get. Why? Because as it is getting retrieve the record from the DB itself along with the API. Because as I have already informed you, I don't have any updated API or anything else. So that's why I am just keeping the value change. So if you have the ready API, so then you can give like that the HTTPS colon that slash employed or slash something else, or you have one meaningful name. As I don't have that much of setup in my system, so I'm just keeping changing, keep changing the URL. So if you see here, after coming to API, it will check where the get method are coming. Now it will find in the entire controller they have one, two, three get mapping. So now they will separate which get mapping I am trying to call through that API. So if you see like that in that example, I am trying to call find all. So now it will search with find all and it will get here. Okay, that means I want to retrieve all the details from the employee from the employee table itself. So now what I need to do, I just need to call this employee details from the so py employee details, and as it is a get method, you just click on get. Awesome, we got all the three records. So if you change here in a JSON format, you see whatever the records are present in the DB itself, all the three records are coming over here. So this is the get method. Now what I have done, I need to update the employee name. So here there is three employee, right? One is Reams, one is Saurav, one is Garfield. I need to update this employee name Saurav to some other name. Then what I need to do, so here I have one method, that is put method. So all of you know that get for retrieve the data, post for inserting a new record into a DB, put for if you want to update any particular details for the particular user. So here I just need to update employee and then two, and you just keep here put. What I need to update for employee 2, I just need to update name from Saurav to Ritama. So you just I just need to update name from Saurav to Ritama, and city from BBSR to Kolkata. Let's check how we can do that. Awesome, here we are getting record updated successfully. Let's check an example here. Fine, fantastic. You see, right? I have already updated the record via API itself. How I have done that one? If you see, like here, I am giving path variable along with the request body. Why? Because I need to pass the ID. So whenever you are passing this one, it is coming like the select update employee set employee name equal to so and so, comma employee city or city equal to so and so, where employee id equal to 2. So this is the entire query they have formed. So in the exchange method, if you see, I have done this one, I have given this one API slash update employee. Now it's a something trick method. What it will do, first whenever you are, it will call the exchange method, first it will come to here. As it is the put method, it will finding for the put mapping. Yes, they found the put mapping here. Now, if you see here, I am doing update employee slash ID. So, whenever you are passing, you are trying to update any of the employee record, it expect the employee ID from the URL itself. Because if you see like that here, I have already provided the employee ID, right? So that's why it is I am giving like that over here, and I am keeping as a path variable. So whenever I am, if you see the REST API code, so here I am passing the string ID and I am appending ID over there itself. So then it will come like that: http colon localhost colon 800 slash API slash update employee slash ID, whatever the ID I'm passing. And after that it will do the put method. The put means it will update the record for the particular employee. So in the particular, in the particular put mapping class, first it will come to here, then it will go to the update employee method, and then it will do the business logic over there itself in the service class. So we can update, we can retrieve, we can insert. I have not written any delete logic in my API, so delete query will not work in our cases, but you can do delete also. So that is the important thing by using the REST API. And now I will show you one more thing. So suppose if you want to update the record which is not present, let's see. So as I have not added capturing the record, so currently I'm getting the default soap issue from here itself. So in the next video I will show you how to get the record. So suppose if the employer, if the ID is not present, we should get employee is not present or ID is not present. So that the thing I will show you in the next video. So if you see here in the in our console, we are getting employee not found. So that details we should get in our backend code itself or in our postman call itself. So I will show you in the next video how we will get that one. Now I will explain you one more thing, one more important topic, that is what is the difference between path variable and request param. So this is one of the important interview question most of the interviewer used to ask in the during the interview. So what's the difference between path variable and request param? So path variable, whenever you are passing as a path variable, path variable is passing the variable as a value itself. So if you see like that, here we are passing path variable string ID. That means whenever you are passing like that, passing over here employee ID employee equal to 1, so it is passing as a value itself. But if you see, so path variable used to capture the value from the URL itself. So whenever you are passing over here 1, it will capture the value as 1 and it will update the record for only for those value itself. So first it will capture the value as 1, then it will update. So in our case I have already showed you, I have showed given taking the value ID for 2. So here I will show you once again. So 2, then I am keeping you mm, Pune. So record updated successfully. So if you run this one, you can see Pune. That means whatever the value you are passing from the URL, it will that at the rate path variable will capture that value and they will work on those value itself. So they will update the employee details for particular those value itself. And what is the difference between in request param? So now I am showing you. So request param, so here if you see the request param, so the most important difference is path variable is capturing the value from the URL, but request param capturing the query parameter or form parameter from the URL. So the whenever you are passing the path variable, you should pass like that, that the all the API name slash the variable name. If it is id, then 2. If it is name, then you pass the name. But if you want to pass the request param, you have to pass like that, question mark, then name. So what is the value? So this is the employee details. So here I am getting, keeping here employee details, question mark, id equal to 2, because I am passing over here id now, and it is also a get method. So let's get these details. Awesome. Here you can see like that, I am getting the employee details for the particular employee. Why whenever, so what is the difference between request param and path variable? The first difference, request param used to capture query parameter or form parameter from the URL itself. So here we are passing the query, question mark, id equals to 2. If you have multiple parameter, then you can you can write and then parameter equal to the parameter value. But at the path variable used to capture value from the URL. The first difference is like that, the path variable used to capture value from the URL. Request param used to capture query parameter from the URL. The second thing is, whenever you are writing the the path variable are always coming in the URI itself. So if you see like that, in all the cases in the request param, I am keeping slash employee slash id, and you must keep that id inside the at that path variable. But if you see like that in the request param, I don't give here. We don't require it here in the value on the request mapping. We just passing the request param from the body itself, method signature itself. This is one of the important difference between the path variable along with the request param. So whenever you are using the request param, so you should keep it in mind. Request param capture the query parameter or form parameter from the URL, and path variable used to capture the value from the URL. And if you doesn't want to how to capture the, what I can say, like how to capture the entire details, or how to capture the this record, basically the error response from the particular REST call. So stay tuned. Bye bye.